First of all, thanks everybody, and this is a historical big day for me and my family. But I want to first thank the University of Tulsa and Stedman Upham in particular, who's no longer with us, obviously, but took a chance and gave me a great opportunity 7 years ago. And my main job was to usher us into the American Athletic Conference, which is obviously the most prestigious athletic conference we've been involved with in the history of the institution. And so I also want to thank our student athletes, our coaches who have done a great job, our senior staff, because we rolled into the American Athletic Conference and we've basically been able to continue the success that we had in Conference USA. And that's not just athletically, but academically as well. So many different accolades, and I don't have a complete list of everything, but I'm really proud of the championships we've been able to win. We've maintained a 3.0 or better GPA across the board my entire 7 years here. Thousands of different accolades academically and athletically. I couldn't be more proud of that, and it's what I'm all about. I'm a former student athlete, as many of you know. I have a son who graduated from here who was a student athlete. Unfortunately for him, he was injury prone and didn't get to play a lot, but he had a great experience here too. And our family has been blessed, and we bleed blue and gold, obviously. And this, after 26 years of being on campus, of fighting a good fight, I'm going to the next level and looking forward to continuing the great work that we've done over all these years. So with that, I'll just open it up to questions.
Derrick, was it a difficult decision, or did you feel like this was the right opportunity at the right time?
Well, whenever you change career paths, it's always a difficult decision, I think. And when you look at where you are, and we've had such a great experience here, but this is an opportunity that I probably would have looked at no matter where I was in my career. Just based on my background, where I grew up, the son of a mother who integrated a high school with a handful of other black students back in 1965 in Huntsville, Alabama. And I've been kind of a pioneer everywhere I've gone. I've either been the first or the only. And so this is the type of job that really can advocate, not only for people like myself, but there are 460,000 plus student athletes at 1,100 institutions. And so at the end of the day, this is a great opportunity to make an impact across the board rather than just at one institution.
Derrick, at this moment in time, do you feel like the possibilities for this particular position are just different and greater than maybe they would have been even in the very recent past?
Well, that's a great question. And I actually was nominated for this position, and I looked at the posting, and I'm going back on the dates. I think it was May 19th. And on May 25th, May 19th, my wife and I discussed it, and she said, "Hey, this would be a great opportunity for you. It looks like you." I said, "Yeah, it feels good." But that was at the very beginning of this. 5-6 days later, George Floyd was killed. And then 3 or 4 days after that, the world shifted, and our nation in particular. And this, what we're going through now with the civil unrest, the social unrest, it became a movement. And so one of the committee members said to me in my last interview for this job, "Hey, think of this not as your next job, but as an opportunity to be a part of a movement." It's changed so much in the last few months from when it was first posted, now for it to be probably one of the more prominent diversity inclusion positions in the country, in higher education in particular. But, I'm looking forward to the challenge.
Derrick, can you hear me all right?
I can.
If a candidate for this Tulsa job calls you and asks you about it, what are you going to say?
And you kind of blanked up a candidate who to replace me.
Yeah, if they call you and ask you for your input and and about your history at TU, I mean, what are you going to tell them about this job? That it's super difficult? That it's uniquely difficult? I mean, what is your message?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think all these jobs are difficult, and they're all relative to where you are. Everybody knows that we've had some budget concerns, but everybody has budget concerns. In particular now with the COVID situation, I think higher education and college sports in general is going to be difficult. But I will tell them that the people here are fantastic. That's what makes the job. The reason we're successful is because of our coaches. Great programs are built on the shoulders of coaches. And then you have to have good administrators, too. And we have a lot of great administrators, and we've had great support from above. But it starts with the coaches. They've been able to recruit student athletes who can come into this environment and thrive because it's a small private institution. So that has some challenges as well. But our coaches have done a great job of who they bringing in the people that they brought in, being able to motivate them and push them to the next level. So I don't think they're going to have a problem getting a great slate of candidates to replace me because one of my mentors told me one time, he said, for every guy like you and me, there are 10 more or guys and women who are just like us, who are just as good, and some of us just get lucky or we're blessed. And so I've been blessed to be here for 7 years, and it's been a good ride, and I think they'll get a great person to replace me.
What would you say about the university's commitment to athletics today versus 5 months ago? You know what I mean? Do you sense a shift in that at all, or are you confident that in 5, 10, 20 years there will still be Tulsa major college football and basketball?
Well, yeah, I think that athletics has always been part of the fabric of this institution. I tell people all the time the university was formed in 1894. The football program came online in 1895, believe it or not, and has played almost every year since then through 2 world wars when a lot of schools even stopped. So I know that the people who really support this program are going to continue to support it. And, we just have to continue with the success, and I think it's going to be okay.
You mentioned the move to the American Conference. Looking back, is there something you're most proud of in your 7 years, whether it's that or something else?
I'm proud. I'm very proud of the way we've been able to compete. And that's without a lot of new facilities. And we've done some things that we've been able to do some things with renovations and those types of things. But we didn't get a big budget increase. We got no budget increase, as a matter of fact, and we started cutting things. So I'm really proud of the fact that our student athletes and coaches never used that as an excuse. They just never did. And I even had student athletes who approached me a few months ago and said, because they're smart, they're savvy, they read too, and they understand what's going on. And they said, we really appreciate the way that you didn't have any of those cuts and some of the reductions that have happened across the board really affect us directly. And so I take a lot of pride in that. We've had to do some things with the staff, and we've had to cut back some things, but we've always been able to provide quality to the student athletes, and they've been able to perform in and out of the classroom and on the fields and courts. So I'm really proud of that.
About taking little bits and pieces of every destination along the way and kind of molding that and shaping who you are. What are you taking away from what you learned at Tulsa into your next position?
What I'm taking away, and that's very critical, and this is for everybody across the country, is you have to listen to the voice of the student athletes. And I've always done that because I think a lot of them still relate to me, whether they be black or white, male or female, because I'm a former student athlete. Of course, in today's world with the things going on with social justice, we've been very, very connected to our student athletes and listening very intently to what they have to say, whether it's grievances, and it hasn't always been grievances. They've also patted us on the back sometimes. But we've had conversations that have never happened in my 20 plus years of being an administrator and when I was a student athlete. So the student athletes have a voice, and I always encourage our coaches and administrators across the country to listen to that, and that will be a major part of what I do and continue when I move on to this next role.
Did you feel like, because Chris Paul made a reference to that back during Media Day about, he felt like people on the campus were listening, but was asked about the NCAA level, he said that he felt like that they could potentially listen a little bit more. So that obviously weighs heavy on you moving into this role. And do you feel like for the first time that athletes are starting to realize that they do have a voice and they do have a certain amount of power that they carry with that voice now more than ever? Well,
I think they started recognizing the voice a while back, and with the the startups of student athlete advisory councils. Those types of things didn't exist when I was a ball player back in the day. But now with the social justice movement, it kind of goes hand in hand. So, and Chris is right. I think by design, the NCAA is far removed from institutions as it is. And even in my interview process, I kind of had a bullseye approach to it. If you have the student athletes in the middle, in the bullseye, you move out from there to the coaches, to whether it's alumni, to the presidents, to the board members, to the conference offices. By the time you get to the NCAA, you're probably 7 or 8 layers away from the student athletes. So one of the big pieces that I want to bring is to get that type of connection directly with the NCAA. You do have the national SAC group. You do have conference SAC groups. But I plan to be very external once COVID clears up, of course. And I'm going to be on these campuses, and I'm going to be talking to these student athletes face to face. I'm going to be talking to coaches. I'm going to be talking to presidents about a lot of different things. So I'm looking forward to that and being able to connect with them on a different level because, again, by design, the NCAA is far removed. But I can tell you that that the NCAA, which is us, which is the membership, is very concerned about what's going on with our student athletes.
Dr. Gragg, with this decision to take on this new position, was there ever any hesitation because of the fact that we are in a pandemic and there's so much uncertainty, how football is going to be played out, if it's going to be played out? Did that weigh on the decision after they said we'd like to hire you?
I don't know if I really understand it.
Dealing with the pandemic, knowing that football is still up in the air, but when they decided to, make you this new position with the NCAA, did you have any hesitation, wanting to stay at Tulsa to help them fight through this pandemic?
That's a great question. What I have confidence in is what we've done over the past few months as it relates to the COVID situation. The procedures that we've put together along with the medical advisory teams here on campus, crisis management here on campus, Brian Sislow, Chris Nerio, those guys have done a fantastic job of trying to ensure that all of our student athletes are going to be as safe as possible. And everything has risk, but I do feel confident in what we're doing. So in leaving that, I leave feeling confident that we will be able to further ensure their safety. So I don't have a lot of hesitancy about leaving. I think the people that are left behind are doing a great job. I think the student athletes are doing a great job too. People, you can't take that away from them because as we told them in the beginning, if we're going to play and be participating in sports, a lot of it has to do with you. And so you please follow the rules and the procedures that we put in place and protect yourself and protect your fellow classmates, your fellow teammates, and in turn that protects our staff. So I feel good about what we've established, and it's taken a lot of work. It's not just in athletics, but across the board, across the campus, and then with the physicians and everybody else that are included in that process.
Derrick mentioned earlier, talking with your wife, that she said it sounded like this job, it looks like you. Can you describe or explain why that is?
Well, absolutely, and it has 3 parts to it. Obviously, the diversity, inclusion. Well, inclusion and equality is what I more like to focus on. I think everybody in our business has probably done a pretty good job with diversity, but inclusion, that's the next level, and then equality is the ultimate level. And so I've been in college athletics for 27 years, and in my hiring and selection processes, I've always taken those things into account and been very fair. If you check my hiring record, I think I've hired 15 or 16 head coaches. 5 have been white males, 5 have been African American, and 5 have been women. And so I'm very attuned to that. So a lot of the things that are going on with the NCAA along those levels and having to be influential with the decision makers, that's a big part of what will go on. The second piece is education. And with the leadership programs that the NCAA has in place, and I've been involved with a lot of these different things since their inception. And being one of the only black athletic directors in the country, I've always been asked to come out and mentor, whether it's the coaches' academies. I spoke at the Inclusion Forum last year about the importance of the senior woman administrator role. I've spoken at NCAA related things. I've been a member of tons of different NCAA committees. Right now, I'm still on the NCAA nominating committee, which fills out all of the committees across the board. So being involved with that as well, and then community engagement, I think that's to help the NCAA with some of the perception, because a lot of people, they don't get credit, and I want to credit Dr. Mark Emmert for this. He probably has put together the most diverse senior management team in higher education across the board. You can check it if you go to the website and just look at the diversity of his senior management team. He doesn't get enough credit for that. So help spreading the word when it comes to that. Athletic directors, that's what we do. We get out in the community. So creating better synergy with the community of Indianapolis and then across the board, across the nation. And I'm looking forward to that. So those three elements, and it's a long, drawn-out job description, let me tell you. But I think I'm up for it, and not just me, but a lot of help. I have a team of about 26 people there, 5 or 6 direct reports who have done a lot of outstanding work already. And so I think I'll be able to plug in and go. And one of the things about me also, this is all I've done. So I think I'm pretty much ready-made. I don't have to be orientated or have to have a lot of background education on what college athletics is, because I've always been a college athletic administrator. Went on a campus in 1988 as a Vanderbilt football student athlete, and I've been on a campus ever since then. So I'm looking forward to it.
I want to make sure I heard this correctly. Are you suggesting that or reporting that your athletics budget is at or below where it was your first year on the job?
My athletics budget is probably below where it was when I first reported for the job.
So how do you keep up in the American? It just seems like at least modest increases would be the industry standard if you're having to cut or stand pat with money.
Right, and a big part of that is something I can't reveal right now. I think everybody will be excited about some of the announcements that are going to be made in the near future as it relates to that. So stay tuned, but I can't be very detailed about it.
So in 7.5 years, Derrick, you hired 15 head coaches?
No, I'm talking about it, my 15 years of being an AD. I've hired 6 here. So this, yeah, so the 6 here, I've hired, I think, 6 men and 6 women. So it just kind of speaks to who I am. 3 men and 3 women.
Anything else for Derrick?
Well, hey, in closing, I just want to thank all of you, too. You got another question, Bill?
I got a quick question.
That always happens.
It'll be quick. And now that you're going to be part of the NCAA committee and everything, do you see a chance that you take the AAC and become Power 6?
Well, you know, I talked to Mike Oresco, is one of the first people I talked to today, and obviously it's a big-time conference. I won't have a lot to do with that, in whether they get to be a Power 5 conference or not, but I think it's deserving. I know we've worked very hard, but it's going to take a lot more work. It's going to take more success. But pound for pound, and you've seen it on the fields and on the courts, this conference has been able to hold its own against everybody. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with them going forward.
Thanks, Derrick.
Thank you.
I have one final question. Derrick has a second.
Go on, Bill.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to ask Derrick if he wants to be involved in identifying his successor in that job.
No, I don't think that's my job. My job is to just finish up the next. I'm on the clock for 30 more days, and we have a few more things to tie up. And if I'm asked my opinion, I will give it. But that's for the current administration to determine.
Thank you, Derrick.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. I wish we could be here all together. And I had to say kind of goodbye to my staff like this today. But I'll be back because I get to be external. So I'll be back on campus whenever this clears up, and I hope to see you when that happens. What'd he say?
One thing I'm gonna add, I just emailed you guys a statement, from, Commissioner Oresco, so you can, that, but it's referring to the statement on Derrick and how he's been with, work with in the league and all, so that has been sent out to you. Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Derek.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Derek. Good luck.
Thank you.
We talked about.
Oh, yeah, we were gonna do something else.
I wrote down